rivalries. Come and enjoy cycling November 28th at the National Park Georgetown and swimming at the National Aquatic Center Liliendale. Witness the track and field action at the National Track and Field Center Lenora, West Coast Demerara on November 29, all the way through December 2nd. Action starts at 10 hours. The National Championships, where stars are born.
This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, I'm Kevin Smith with your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. The Environmental Protection Agency on November 25th gave ExxonMobil its blessings to commence the $1.3 billion gas to energy project that will allow for the construction of a natural gas pipeline, as well as a natural gas liquids facility and supporting infrastructure. While many stakeholders had raised concerns regarding the safety of the project, the EPA, in its decision to grant the permit, said the project's environmental impact assessment and environmental impact statement have been declared acceptable by the Environmental Assessment Board. However, when Kaieteur examined the 5-year environmental permit, it was discovered that Exxon was also given the opportunity to decide when it will provide insurance for the project, as the regulator sets out no definitive time frame. In other news, a 21-year-old teacher was on Sunday arrested for the brutal killing of her grandmother at Charity Housing Scheme on the Essequibo Coast, Region 2. The dead woman was identified as 75-year-old Angelica Agatha Gamel of Charity Housing Scheme and was reportedly killed around 4 hours. Reports are that the elderly woman usually resides alone in her flat concrete house. A neighbor recalled hearing loud screams and sound of a crying baby coming from her home that morning. According to police, Gamel's bloodied remains were found lying face down on her kitchen floor. There were large gaping wounds to the back of her neck and another to the right side of her head. Some of her hair appeared to be cut off and was found next to her body. In other news, deepwater oil and gas production is set to increase to 60% by 2030, with Brazil as the leading deepwater producer, Wood Mackenzie reported. Ultra-deepwater production from depths of 1,500 meters and above is growing fastest. By 2024, it will account for more than half of all deepwater production, Woodmac reported. Brazil remains the leading deepwater producer as it accounts for around 30% of current global capacity and will continue to grow. It was stated that Guyana, the most significant new entrant, will be producing 1 million within the next 5 years. Notably, in total, 14 other countries will contribute to the deepwater supply mix in the coming years. According to the report, despite the diversification of sources and corporate participants, control over major deepwater projects sits in the hands of relatively new companies. It was stated that just 8 companies account for 65% of deepwater production. And moving on, notorious death row inmate Sion Picture Boy Collier died in jail on Saturday, his relatives have confirmed. He was ailing at the time of his death. Collier was sentenced to death for killing 2 brothers back in September of 2006 in Victoria, East Coast Demerara, and also a businessman of Nonpareil, also on the East Coast. He was acquitted of the Nonpareil murder. He was sentenced to death by hanging for the crime in 2016 after being convicted for the murder of brothers Ray Walcott and Carl Andrews. And just before we head to a short break, let's tell you that the AFC believes that officials who are found guilty of mismanaging state funds should be sent to jail. She said AFC leader Kemrat Ramjatan. AFC leader Kemrat Ramjatan. He explained that the amendments were made to the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act to clearly outline penalties, including hefty fines and imprisonment for persons found guilty of mishandling state funds. According to him, witnesses in such matters hardly present themselves, and sometimes when they do, they change their statements. The Auditor General reports over the years have revealed rather troubling findings regarding the use of public funds, which go unpunished. The time has now moved on to 12 hours 6 in Guyana. We'll take a short break and return with our news.
If something doesn't look right, then there is something wrong. And if you suspect child abuse, then you must report it to the Child Care and Protection Agency. During this time more than ever, we have to be the eyes and ears of abused children across the country. So if you see it, or you know it, or even if you just think it's child abuse, then you must report it to the police or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Welcome back. Over 50 young men residing at Leopold Street, Georgetown and surrounding communities will soon be employed through the government's ongoing housing construction project. President Ali made the announcement during a consultation with several community members Sunday morning. The Guyanese leaders said with the massive expansion in the housing sector, there is a high demand for workers. Dr. Ali tasked Minister of Home Affairs Robeson Ben and Commissioner of Police Clifton Hicken to immediately organize a 2-week training for the interested workers. The 14-day course will ensure the men work effectively and are brought up to speed with the standards of the PPPC government's massively expanding home building exercise countrywide. And members of the joint services on Saturday destroyed 3 large fields of marijuana cultivation during an extensive exercise in the Berbice River. The Guyana Police Force said a party of policemen from Regional Division No. 6, along with the Police Narcotic Branch, Georgetown, Coast Guard and the GDF conducted operations in the Berbice River following reports of cattle rustling by a farmer of Kimby, a village upper Berbice River. As the team went in pursuit of the perpetrators, they came across 3 suspected cannabis farms measuring about 8 acres along the Ebony Trail, upper Berbice River, with about 37,000 suspected plants ranging from 3 to 7 feet in height, weighing approximately 4,000 pounds. 3 makeshift camps with 400 pounds of dry cannabis, along with 1 tiller and several farming equipment, were seen. The estimated cost of the suspected cannabis is $585.1 million. And moving on, the Commission of Inquiry into the 2020 elections will resume sitting today, with commissioners scheduled to visit the controversial Ashman's building, the seat of all the confusion during the tabulation exercise. In a brief statement, the Secretary of the Inquiry, Javed Shadiq, arrangements have been made to facilitate the visit to Ashman's building at 1 p.m. Several witnesses have already testified in the ongoing inquiry. And the Audit General's report for 2021 has highlighted the disastrous spending on the Durban Park Stadium. The report outlined that a special audit was undertaken on the construction of the Durban Park Jubilee Stadium. Construction commenced in 2015 in preparation for Guyana's 50th independence anniversary in 2016. The private company named Homestretch Development Inc. was created to implement this project. As of December 31st, 2017, amounts totaling $1.1 billion were expended. Payment vouchers to support expenditures incurred by the ministry totaling $70.6 million were not produced for audit examination. As such, the completeness, accuracy and validity of this amount could not be determined. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News, dedicated to being blunt. Guyana lacks capacity to keep up. Minister Bowert said that we can't keep up. So why is the PPP government racing ahead with more projects, ramped up production? We are only going to fall further and further behind. If you don't have capacity to keep up now, wait until the 5th and 6th projects are approved. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday